I was born quiet. Not in the poetic way like a quiet child with deep thoughts. I mean literally quiet. I didn't cry too loud. I didn't demand attention. I didn't ask for more. And somehow, that became the foundation of how I was treated my entire life. You were always different, my mother used to say. Different. It was her favorite word when describing me. Sometimes it came laced with pity, other times with disappointment. My sister, Jenna, on the other hand, was the embodiment of everything they adored: loud, ambitious, flashy, competitive. She had presence. She made heads turn, rooms pause, voices hush. I made people forget I was even there. At family functions, they introduced Jenna with titles. This is Jenna, our little genius. This is Jenna, the one with the full scholarship. This is Jenna, who just got promoted. Me? Oh, that's Ruby. She works somewhere. I think in content or something. I wasn't invisible. I was just insignificant. My life wasn't tragic. It was dull, at least in their eyes. I didn't win awards. I wasn't on magazine covers. I wasn't chasing a corporate ladder. I worked at a small marketing firm and lived in a quiet apartment. I loved gardening, journaling, and evening walks. I loved stillness. But to them, stillness meant failure. When I started dating Adrian, I was careful, too careful. I didn't introduce him to my family for the first year. He was gentle. He had a quiet strength to him. He noticed small things: how I hated coriander, how I scrunched my nose when I concentrated, how I cried when I saw old couples holding hands. He didn't judge me for the dreams I hadn't chased. He asked me what I wanted for me, not what I was doing for validation. I told Jenna about him first. Her response? Please tell me he's rich. Or hot. At least one. He's kind, I said. She laughed. Ruby, you can't survive on kindness. You need someone who will upgrade you. And then, I made the mistake of bringing Adrian home. My mother squinted at him like he was a job applicant without a resume. My father asked invasive questions disguised as conversation. How much do you earn? Do you have plans to move to a better place? Are you the ambitious type? When Adrian said, softly, I value peace more than competition, my father chuckled. That's when I knew he was already dismissed. Later that night, I heard my mother whisper to my father in the kitchen, not knowing I was near the hallway. She always goes for broken things. She thinks she can fix people. Maybe because no one ever tried fixing her. That stung. I wasn't broken. I was just quiet. And maybe they mistook the absence of noise as the absence of value. So when Adrian proposed to me under the old banyan tree in the park where we had our first picnic, I said yes. Not because I wanted to prove anything. But because for once, I wanted something for myself. When I told my family, their reaction was muted. Jenna said, well, good luck. I hope it works out. But don't expect a wedding like mine. My father asked, you're not rushing into this because you're desperate, right? And my mother? She simply said, let us know the date. We'll see if we can make it. That was the last I heard from her for months. Planning the wedding was peaceful. Almost too peaceful. There were no family fights over the color of flowers. No siblings fighting over who gives the best speech. No aunts taking over the kitchen or cousins sneaking out with bottles of wine. It was just me, Adrian, and his wonderfully warm family people who didn't know how much I'd missed feeling like I belonged until they gave me that space. We chose a garden venue just outside the city, surrounded by trees and fairy lights. It wasn't luxurious. It wasn't glamorous. But it felt right. Like us. 2 weeks before the wedding, I sent formal invites to my family. I knew they'd probably ignore it, but I had to try for my own peace. What I got in return was unforgettable. A white envelope arrived one morning. No name. No return address. Inside it was nothing. Literally nothing. No card. No response. Just silence printed on expensive paper. I stood in my hallway, holding the empty envelope, my hands trembling not because I was surprised, but because somewhere deep inside me, I still hoped for something else. A phone call. A text. Even a snarky remark about the venue. Anything to show they saw me as someone worth showing up for. But they didn't. The night before the wedding, Adrian held me as I sat on the floor, crying silently. He didn't say, "It's going to be okay." He didn't feed me lies. He just let me fall apart in his arms. "Are you sure?" he asked softly. "Yes," I whispered. "I want to marry you. I just wish I had a family to sit on my side." "You do," he said. "You have me. And my mom. And my annoying little cousin who plans to rap during the reception." I laughed through the tears. God help us all. The wedding day arrived with a breeze of early spring. Birds chirped above the altar. My dress fluttered in the wind like a whisper of rebellion. I didn't feel like a bride who was incomplete, I felt like a woman reclaiming her life. As I walked down the aisle, Adrian's eyes locked onto mine. I saw nothing but pride and love in them. My mother's absence didn't echo as loudly anymore. My father's silence didn't weigh down my steps. Jenna's judgment didn't dim the sunlight that filtered through the trees. The vows were raw. The kind that comes from people who've learned to live without applause. Adrian said, "I see you, Ruby. In a world that always looked past you, I will always look at you." I said, "You showed me I was never empty. I just needed someone who didn't want to fill me, but walk beside me." We kissed. People cheered. Adrian's cousin did rap, and was terrible. The cake was homemade. The flowers were wild. The photos were magic. And my heart? Full. Not because my family loved me, but because I finally stopped begging them to. I didn't expect the photos to matter. Not to the world, and definitely not to my family. They weren't meant for show. They were meant for memories, simple, intimate slices of joy frozen in time. My friend Anita, who was also our photographer, posted a carousel of wedding photos online as a gift. She wrote, "Capturing the most peaceful wedding I've ever attended. Real love. No drama. Just two souls promising each other forever." Adrian looked divine in his classic navy suit. I wore a minimalist ivory gown, his family diamond jewelry, no embroidery, just a satin ribbon trailing down the back and a crown of baby's breath in my hair. I looked like someone I barely recognized. Confident, radiant, whole. The internet noticed. First came the comments from strangers on Anita's post. "There's something so pure in her smile. This is how weddings should feel, intentional and warm. She looks like someone who found peace after pain." Then the wedding photo was shared by a popular lifestyle blog. Suddenly, my inbox was full of requests, vendors asking to feature us, brides asking about my dress, strangers writing long paragraphs about how our vows moved them. And then, the texts started. "Jenna, wow. Okay, I'll admit. You actually looked good. Who picked your dress? Can't believe it." I didn't respond. "My aunt, Ruby. What a wedding. Why didn't you invite us properly? We would have come." Properly? I sent the invites. I begged for acknowledgement. They chose silence. Now they acted like I forgot them. Even my mother, the queen of dismissiveness, finally sent something, a message that read, "We saw the pictures. You seemed fine. Hope your marriage works out." Fine? I felt rage boil under my skin. Not because I expected applause, but because they couldn't even pretend to be happy for me. Even now, when the world saw beauty in what I built, my own family saw it as a fluke. But things got weirder. Adrian's company had just announced a major acquisition. It was in the news. Not flashy or viral, but the kind of news that people in corporate circles read. Which meant people started Googling him. Which meant me. Suddenly, being just Ruby became a novelty. I got a message from one of Jenna's co-workers, of all people. "You're Ruby? I met your sister last year. She said you were a bit lost, just doing some random job." Wow, this is a surprise. That was the moment I knew, my sister lied about me. No wonder no one took me seriously. Jenna hadn't just dismissed me, she painted me as this charity case. A failure she tolerated. Adrian watched me spiral that night and pulled me gently into our backyard. "Let them say what they want," he said. "You don't owe them a version of yourself they refuse to believe in." I nodded, but the wound reopened. Because no matter how healed you think you are, sometimes old scars start bleeding when someone touches them with the same dirty hands. It was a Sunday morning, one of those dreamy, slow ones. I was watering the succulents by the kitchen window. Adrian was making banana pancakes and dancing around to Norah Jones. We were laughing. Actually laughing. Then the doorbell rang. Or rather, the intercom buzzed. Adrian pressed the button. Yes. Static. Then a voice I hadn't heard in months. "Ruby. It's your father. Open the gate." I froze. Adrian looked at me. "What do you want to do?" I walked over and pressed the audio button. "What are you doing here?" There was shuffling. My mother came on the mic. "Ruby, sweetheart. Please. Just for a moment. I'm busy." Jenna's voice chimed in, irritated. "Oh, for God's sake. Stop acting. Just let us in. We're not enemies." Enemies? These were people who treated me like I didn't exist. People who disappeared on the biggest day of my life, who threw an entire wedding for Jenna with firecrackers and gold lehengas, but couldn't show up to mine because it wasn't grand enough. "Why are you here?" I asked, voice steady. "We saw the pictures," my father said. "Everyone's talking. You surprised us. In a good way." "You mean I wasn't a failure like you told everyone?" Silence. Then my mother tried, "Ruby, we didn't mean to, you didn't bother to," I cut her off. "You had every chance. And you chose not to." Jenna scoffed. "Can we just talk like adults? You're clearly doing well now. We're family. It's time to let things go." Let go. She said that so easily. As if they didn't make me feel like nothing for 2 decades. As if I should open the door just because I had become someone worth knowing. They didn't miss me. They missed the status they assumed came with me now. And I wasn't going to be their trophy. "No," I said. My father's tone sharpened. "Don't do this, Ruby. We are your parents." "And I was your daughter," I replied. "But when I needed you to show up, you didn't. I've already had my wedding. My new life. You missed it. You don't get to barge in now and pretend like that didn't happen." "Ruby," I turned off the intercom mid-sentence. I stood there, my hands trembling but not with fear. With power. Adrian wrapped his arms around me. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "Is it cruel?" I asked. "To turn them away?" "No," he said. "It's fair." I looked out the window and saw them still standing at the gate, confused, desperate, panicked. For the first time in my life, they were on the outside. And I was the one looking down at them. That shutting out was the beginning of their desperation. It started with a LinkedIn post. Adrian's company had just secured a major deal, something involving international expansion, a partnership with a prestigious tech giant. A few industry insiders congratulated him publicly. Naturally, his name trended for a while in those circles. But what my family saw wasn't the business success, it was the money. My uncle forwarded the article to our family WhatsApp group with a simple message: "Isn't this Ruby's husband? Must be doing very well. Maybe we underestimated her." And just like that, they noticed me. Suddenly, I was getting texts from numbers I hadn't saved in years. My aunt messaged, "You've always been the quiet achiever. I always said Ruby would surprise us one day." Liar. She once told my mother I would be lucky to marry a man who owned a second-hand car. Jenna, however, took it a step further. "So Adrian's company is in Forbes? Wow, sis. That's major. Would love to meet him properly soon. Maybe we can have a family dinner?" A family dinner? With the same family who skipped my wedding? I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but because I needed time to process the audacity. Then the emotional blackmail began. Mom called. No hello. No small talk. "Ruby," she began, her voice a mix of forced calm and guilt-laced sugar, "you know your father hasn't been feeling well. His BP has been unstable." I remained silent. "And we were thinking it might be nice to see you. Spend time together again. Maybe even meet Adrian properly." I narrowed my eyes. "You didn't want to meet him before," I said flatly. "That was a mistake," she said quickly, as if prepared for that response. "I'll admit we were wrong. But we're your family, Ruby. And now that everything's out in the open, maybe it's time we put the past behind us." She kept talking, but I stopped listening. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They were reaching out because Adrian was valuable now. Because my photos went viral. Because I'd done well without them, and now they wanted a seat at the table I built from scratch. And when silence didn't work, they tried the classic move, emotional guilt. "Your father keeps asking why you won't visit," my mother texted a few hours later. "Don't you want to make peace before it's too late? Families fight, but they forgive too. Don't punish us forever." I stared at that message. The same woman who hadn't even replied to my wedding invitation now wanted forgiveness wrapped in obligation. I typed a reply. Then deleted it. Let them sit in their own silence now. A week later, they came in person again. Not all of them, just my parents and Jenna. And this time, they didn't wait at the gate. They timed their visit to a Sunday morning, knowing we'd be home. Adrian was trimming the hedge. I was setting coffee to brew. The doorbell rang. Adrian looked through the camera and sighed. "It's them again." I took a deep breath. Opened the door. But not too wide. He gave me a long, quiet look. "Are you sure?" "Yes." The door creaked open, and they stood there smiling, as if we were some happy sitcom family caught in a commercial break. My mother stepped forward, clutching a box of sweets. "Homemade ladoos. You used to love these, Ruby." I didn't reach for the box. "Can we come in?" she asked. "No." Her face fell. My father stepped up, voice slow and grave. "Ruby, we didn't raise you to shut people out." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the way you shut me out on my wedding day?" He blinked. "We made a mistake," he said stiffly. "But now things are different." Ah. There it was, because my husband is successful now? I said plainly. "Don't twist our concern into greed," my mother snapped quickly, but too fast to sound convincing. "We're your parents. We care." Jenna chimed in, fake sweet. "We were hurt too, Ruby. Watching your wedding photos online, it felt like we missed something important. You looked happy. And honestly, I'd love to get to know Adrian. We never got the chance." "Because you didn't want the chance," I said calmly. "Because none of you believe I deserve that kind of love. Or respect." Jenna's smile cracked. My mother exhaled shakily. "He's your husband. We want to bless the marriage now." I laughed. I actually laughed. Oh, now you want to bless it? Now that you know who he is? Now that you can brag about being his in-laws? My father's lips pressed into a firm line. We're still your blood, Ruby. And yet you bled me dry for years, I said. You chipped away at my self-worth. You told people I was barely holding a job when I was building a quiet empire. You ridiculed my choices. And when I finally found joy, you treated it like a scandal. So forgive me if I don't invite you to sit in the sunshine I built after you left me in the dark. No one spoke. Adrian stood behind me now, silent but firm. My anchor. Then Jenna said the worst possible thing. Fine. So you're cutting us off? Just because we made a few mistakes? You'll regret it when you're older. When your children ask why their grandparents don't visit. I stepped closer, locking eyes with her. If I ever have children, I said slowly, I will tell them the truth. That I protected their peace the way no one ever protected mine. My mother's face crumpled. My father muttered, so that's it? I nodded. That's it. I didn't slam the door. I simply closed it gently. Because unlike them, I had learned how to walk away with grace.